US President Donald Trump has expressed confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin would like to boost trade between the two countries. Trump has said in an interview that the expansion of trade and economic ties between Russia and the United States would be an excellent course of developments. He has added that he thinks that the Russian president wants to come in and make trade with the United States, and that Putin wants to make a lot of money for Russia. This comes as the US recently cancelled a planned Budapest summit between the two leaders after Russia sent a memo to Washington noting its firm stance on its demands regarding Ukraine. Okay, now joining us to discuss this and more is Andrew Latham. He is a professor of international relations and he joins us live from Minneapolis in the United States. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, this comes on the backdrop of the Ukraine war. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin's relationship has been nothing short of complicated during these negotiations. But Donald Trump speaking of boosting trade with Moscow. How strange is that, even after Donald Trump placed huge damaging sanctions on two of Moscow's largest crude companies?
Well, this is entirely consistent with President Trump's modus vivendi, as it were. Some days he has the stick out and he's threatening Vladimir Putin, do this or else. And other days he has the carrots out. If you do this, you'll be rewarded. And that's the mode, the phase we're in at the moment, I think. He's not offering anything in the short term because of sanctions and other considerations. But in the medium to long term, especially if Vladimir Putin brings this war to an end soon, President Trump is holding out the prospect of enhanced trade between the two countries, thinking that that will be enough to induce President Putin to change his approach to this war. I think that's a bit of a leap, but that's the mode that President Trump is in at the moment.
Yes, and Andrew, what sectors will benefit the most if Moscow did indeed, the United States did indeed decide to reopen trade routes with Moscow?
Well, they would probably be, again, in the medium term, non-strategic, non-sanctioned goods, and there are plenty of those. The Europeans are still doing plenty of business with Russia in those sectors. So that's low-hanging fruit, as it were. In the longer term, I don't think there's much scope. The United States is not going to be trading with Russia on cutting-edge AI technologies, for example, and things like that, because it doesn't want to give up its edge, its advantage, and there's no reason why it would be interested in. The Russians don't have much to offer in those sectors. So I think it would be low-value-added consumer goods, with no dual use or obvious strategic value. And that is providing, of course, that the war is winding down, that the war ends in a way that satisfies President Trump's vision of how the war should end.
Yes, indeed, Andrew. Do stay with us as we move on to further updates. But this time we head